We've all been there where we feel lost on a team. We don't feel like we can grow, do better. We don't have the opportunity. What we can do, though, is start that change. On this episode of the Principal Choice podcast, we will go through the steps you can take to start fostering that team environment of acceptance and growth.
Welcome to the Principal Choice podcast. I'm Milena Baroni.
And I'm Erik Gill.
Yes, and today we're going to talk about fostering a team environment of acceptance and growth.
Find your purpose, find your people, and find your place on the Principal Choice podcast.
So fostering a team environment full of growth and acceptance, these are going to be some really key steps to kind of getting in that direction and kind of fostering that within your own team. How do you like to do that in your team?
Yeah, I always take it back to day one when I first became a manager on CAEC. And the first thing I did when I was taking over, we had like warm handoffs with each associate on the team. And the first thing that I led with was, I'm not your manager, I'm your advocate. It immediately started breaking down those barriers because we all have those feelings and those experiences from places you may have worked at where it's all these managers are micromanagers, it's you need to do it this way or else I will raise hell. So making sure I didn't have that approach going forward, because really it's all about, if you're a leader on a team or even just a member of a team, what can you do for the next person? That's what leadership is. Even if you don't feel like you're a leader, what can you do for the next person? And in the end, it'll help you too. So that's definitely the first piece that I took into it. Now, it definitely goes deeper than that. I know you've had a lot of experiences on your teams when you reach beyond that. What are some of the steps that you take after that first initial meeting as a manager, like that's prolonged?
I really like to get to know them a little bit. Anytime I start one-on-ones, especially with new people, I kind of go along the lines of like, just opening it up like a conversation. I don't bring up work into it. I want to know them, because even though we are all part of a team, I still want to focus on the individual, because every individual needs a little bit of an adjustment in how they like to be led, what kind of support they're looking for, and how to foster that growth. So I kind of get to know them a little bit, and in doing so, I take little bits and pieces of what they tell me, and I kind of understand their story. I understand where their career path is, where they want to take it, and where it has been, and I try to make sure that they know that I'm their biggest cheerleader. I'm here to help with whatever. You want me to be annoying and ask the question 1,000 times, I will be annoying and ask the question 1,000 times. If they need to ask me the question 1,000 times, ask me a question. You can ask me the same thing over and over again. If it makes you feel better and I'm helping you and you feel supported, I'm not going to care. And I think
100%.
just making sure it's open conversations as well, and just very honest and transparent. I try and let them know, hey, I don't know that answer, but I'm going to find out for you. I'll reach out to whoever I need to reach out, whether that's my senior management, other managers in the program, anything like that, to get that information for them. So that way they can really know I'm in their corner, because that's the biggest thing. I want to make sure that they know that they have that support, even if they stumble.
Agreed. Yeah, that's one of the biggest pieces that you mentioned was transparency. Whether it's we can do something or we can't, or this is just how it has to be because of these certain options or see these certain aspects. We need to see this or see this growth. One thing that I pin back to as a story, because those open conversations lead to so much.
Oh, yeah.
It's not, sometimes it is more personal.
Yeah.
It's get to know them as a person, but once you do that and you build that trust, that's when a lot of growth comes from it, not only for them, but for you, and then every other single person, whether it's your department, whether it's your company, whatever it might be, knowing that you have that trust in someone to give those ideas that you may have, and maybe those changes to be implemented, it's huge. When I was kind of starting off, one of the first things that really was hitting our department in general was our correspondence QA. And basically it's QA, auditing, things like that. It was a lot higher. And I think a third of the department was failing every single month, and people weren't happy about it, and we looked into it, and it's more of a systemic issue at that point. Being able to be an advocate for them, and seeing, what do you want? Maybe we can't get all of that done, but what do you want, and what are you putting forward now? And challenging and pushing them to keep pushing forward, because that is one thing that I've realized as well. If you're not pushing forward other people on your team, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to be a complaint session. That's the opposite of growth and acceptance. It's staying where you're at and just talk, mad. Okay, are we over it? No, talk, mad. Instead of, hey, we're not happy. What can we do about it? Look at the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror. Just thinking of like the Michael Jackson song. And what can you do? If you want to start a change, make it with yourself first. Make it with your team first. Then it just goes through everything. What are some tips you would give to someone who's on a team that is starting to be a little stagnant? They're recognizing it. Maybe they have that relationship with you, and it's like a small group they have. What tips would you give that person to take control of that situation and say, let's do it, if you have anything?
I would really take a look at what's being brought up and being spoken to on what's stagnant. Is it unhappy in the department in general? Is it an understanding thing where they feel like the SOPs or the DLPs, sorry, going back and forth on these lovely little acronyms.
Yeah.
But if the desk level procedures are constantly changing, is it a frustration for them? Is this something that we always hear? And kind of taking that and allowing it to kind of sit with you and kind of resonate and get down to where the core of the problem could be. If it's an engagement thing, all right, let's have another meeting. Let's, instead of, a bi-monthly meeting, let's have a monthly meeting. If it's, a struggling on subject matter, let's see what we can do. Let's put out a refresher course for folks, whether that be a quiz or, a side-by-side for folks, things like that. Just kind of being able to adapt and change to really help them feel like they have everything at their disposal so they can go forward. Because, the worst thing is feeling like you're stagnant. And it's hard, too, because it's not always within your power to change things. Like, I know a lot of folks want to, let's say, move up, but there's not a lot of opportunity in certain departments to do that. So what can you do? Well, let me just see what's out there. Let's take a look at this together. What are your skill sets? What are you wanting to do? Are you wanting to continue your education? Are you wanting to talk to somebody? I could probably reach out to another manager and have them speak with you about their department. And if you're interested in something like that, because it's easy to just think about your team and only want to stick to your team, your department. But in reality, there's so much opportunity for growth and for change for so many people that you really want to be able to uplift that and allow them to foster their careers the way they would like to, even if that's unfortunately not with you and on your team. Although I love my team.
Me too.
I was like, I love my team. Shout out to you.
It's a little bit of that like domino effect.
Exactly.
In the way. So, and part of it, having that environment is speaking up. I've challenged people on my team to say, if there's something you don't like that I'm doing, please tell me.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of growth has happened for me, because I don't know everything, like I have so much room to grow, and it's all about how you bring it up and how you work with each other on that. And it doesn't have to be directly to your manager or to a lead on your team. But it can just be with each other.
Yeah.
So, with my team, I've kind of put them into small groups, which I think is kind of interesting, because it's always, let's all come together into one. But I found sometimes it's easier to like divide up and then find those commonalities, find those common growth areas, and go from there, and challenging each other and being okay with saying, I failed or I didn't do as good. That's one of the first things to being accepting, is accepting what went wrong, what could have gone better, being okay with it. You can't change it.
Absolutely.
But you can say, hey, I need help. Let me grow. Help me grow. And if you don't get that, move on to the next.
Yeah.
Talk to someone. Tell someone, hey, my manager is not helping me. tell somebody.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Of
tell the right
course.
person. But, there's always those opportunities there. That's a big piece of it because that shows the trust and the support, but it's not, hey, fit into this box. Like the procedures.
Exactly.
Yes, we all need to follow them, but how do you bring each other closer together further than that?
And how do you make that subject matter something where everybody can digest that information and understand that information? And I kind of want to backtrack a little bit to what you said too on, if there's an issue with the management, like let us know because we want to be able to help guide you the best we possibly can. And it just makes me think I have a sticky note up to remind me of, to me, a good base value when it comes to leading folks, which is like, you can't do better if you don't know better. And how are we going to know better unless someone speaks up? And that could be an issue with the desk procedures. That could be an issue with me. It could be an issue with like, hey, I've noticed you're struggling with the call volume or CPH or anything like that. Let's break it down. Let's see what we can do to try and help, and kind of making sure that they know like, hey, I'm seeing this. I feel like you're having a hard time. Are you having a hard time? And having those open conversations, I think are really, really important to have. What do you feel like is the hardest part about breaking down barriers when you have folks who have had not the greatest experience in the workforce? Like how do you kind of really help ease them into this and help them understand that we see them as them?
Yeah, it's consistency. That's the biggest thing. And, not everyone's consistent every day. Even if you try your best, it doesn't mean you're going to get the same result every day, but the consistency of trying is what puts it out there. So I've noticed this a lot with new people that have came in where they have those underlying things and they hear from orientation, we do this and this and this for you. And they're like, okay, I've been fed the same crap the last 3 or 4 jobs I've been at and nothing ever happened with it. So you're basically rebuilding trust with them when you haven't ever lost it, but there's a good reason why they lost it. I'm sure you've probably had those experiences in the past. Everybody has. Just staying who you are and consistently saying, this is what we can do. Even if you don't see it now, just stick with it. Put your best foot forward. If you're hesitant, that is okay. But the other thing too is what we've kind of talked about. It's okay to speak up. Mm-hmm. Most places it's not okay to speak up. If you speak up, you're now the person in the wrong, even though you're the person in the right or saying, hey, maybe we could do better here. A lot of times people hearing that, it starts to get that candle lit. I don't want to say light bulb go off because that's instant, whereas that candle getting lit, that torch getting lit, to light that candle and say, okay, it's warm here, there's good things going on. That's probably the hardest thing is just us maintaining that consistency. It's not easy. There's days where I want to say, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do it. But then I take a 10-minute break and I'm like, okay, breathe. It's okay. Let's go forward.
You just need a little mini walk.
Exactly. 100%. Speaking on that though, we kind of talked about those challenges of the consistency. What has been the hardest thing for you going into an environment where you're like, wow, this is great? Like maybe the hardest thing that you dealt with in the past. You don't have to get into too specifics, but what was the hardest thing that changed within you to say, wow, I can actually do something here. I can lead acceptance and growth.
I think it's really interesting because I know for a lot of folks, it can go way, way back to anybody with authority over you. And I know that I was constantly asked to be put into a box when I was not a very box person as a kid, or even as a young adult. I thought outside of the box. I was very grandiose. I don't know if you can tell, but I got a bit of a big personality. And it's not everybody's cup of tea. And most people are just like, you just need to calm down. You just need to pay attention. You're always getting into trouble. I really don't like getting into trouble. I was just expressing myself and they didn't know how to handle it. And even when I tried to adjust myself throughout the years to fit into the box that people were expecting me to be in, there were struggles. There were times where I would probably ask too many annoying questions for them. And they were just like, just follow the rules. I don't understand why you can't do this. And I was just like, well, it feels weird and I'm wanting to understand. So please tell me. And it was very eye-opening coming into a company who then saw me as an actual person and saw the good qualities that I am empathetic, I'm compassionate, I'm dedicated, I'm tenacious, I'm a hard worker, I'm silly, all of those things, and wanted to uplift them and show me that I could actually achieve more and be more by being who I am than trying to be of who I was put in that box. And it really is, it is the underlying tone of acceptance and understanding that, you know, I was actually accepted and now I can kind of move forward. But I mean, there's still days where I feel like a very mild version of imposter syndrome where I'm just like, am I really supposed to be here? I don't know. I'm just a weird kid. I just do this. I don't have XYZ. I have never done ABC. What do I do? And, you know, having the support to say, hey, you may not know, but we're going to help you get there. It really helps me know that I'm in good hands. And because of that, I can flourish. I can grow. I can become brighter, a more luminescent version of myself. Like I need any help with that. I'll just blind everybody. Yeah. It's fine.
And then continuing that chain reaction.
And then,
like we've been talking about, you know, you had that and not being like, oh, this is mine. Ha ha ha. It's no, this is not just mine. This is for everybody.
Right.
You know, if you're here and you're willing to put forth that effort and work, be yourself. I'm not going to put you in a box. Now, yes, there's certain things we have to follow. There's certain guidelines that we have to make, but that's life, you know? Like you can't go out on the street and hit someone with your car and be like, well, that's just who I am. No, like you have to follow certain things, but you want to go paint a picture, go paint a picture. You want to go, you know, write a song, go write a song. You want to change something in the company you work for, speak up, you know? That's the biggest thing is you've met that area of acceptance by knowing what has happened to you in the past and accepting it, but now saying, wow, I can grow now because I was given that opportunity. If you found that opportunity, pass it on. You know, just holding it to yourself does not help anybody. It's never going to get anywhere. So
absolutely.
Sure.
I keep on going back to a lovely phrase that I've been saying a lot lately, that a lot of people look at your strengths as strengths, but your flaws are strengths as well, because they show you where you can grow. And to me, that is stronger than what I already excel at. Like I already know I am a human info dump. Like I love learning. I want all the information. And then I love being able to spew it out and teach other people because it's enlightening and it helps people grow and learn. I already know that those are my strengths, but my flaws, okay. I am a little neurotic. I can get a little easily stressed. What are some things that I can do that I can then help focus myself on those flaws so I can strengthen myself and move forward? And that actually, to me, feels like I'm a better leader because I can see the same thing in other folks as well. Like, oh, hey, I see you get stressed really easy. These are some things that work for me. I can now lend that hand to help them manage their stress, their anxieties, their neuroses, if you will, anything of that nature. So I think it's really important to know, like, hey, you may know your flaws, but there's also strengths in your flaws and being able to kind of adapt and grow with them as well.
100%. It goes both ways too. There's flaws in your strengths.
Oh,
so, yeah, for sure. And pairing people together also helps, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
You know? Even if you have two people, this person is great at this, not so good at this, pair them together. Maybe something will come of it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. If you'd like any other resources on how you can better foster acceptance and growth within your team, check the show notes.
And remember, find your purpose, find your people, find your place at the Principal Choice Podcast.